So her name is Newell Margaret. Reason for that is that she will know where she comes from. And she can tell you all about her history from her name, both families. Anyway, before we start, I'd like to tell you a little story. My favorite things, just tell you a little story about the language difficulties that we have, and we've been having for quite a number of years. This is a story about a Mi'kmaq family that had contacted a farmer they were looking for a calf in the spring. And I like to have, at the end of my talk, to show of hands who did not understand what I was talking about. And those who understand it, just do what you do.
I'm sorry about that.
Okay, one day, these couple met a farmer and asked him if he would be having any calves that spring. And he said yes. And the Mi'kmaq couple said that they were looking for a calf. And the farmer told him, about this time of the year, come on up and we should have something for you. So early spring, about this time, the couple went up to check on the farmer if he had a calf for them.
I'm sitting over here, actually.
No, the farmer noticing the couple walking up, asked his wife to make some tea for the people who are coming. He said it's common practice for the Mi'kmaq people that if you're okay and you have an agreement to have tea, okay. So, and he said, oh, by the way, he said, these people, the Mi'kmaq love their tea strong, so make sure you have a strong tea for them. Okay. So the farmer met the couple in the barn where the calves were, and they looked over some calves, and they wanted a milker, I guess. So the wife chose. He said, "This one. We'll take this one." I said, "Okay." So the farmer said, "Okay, let's go inside and talk about how we're going to get them to your place because they had to walk, and the calf couldn't walk that distance." Noticing that there was an agreement made, they were coming over to the house, the wife set the table for them. As they entered, I sat down, and the offering of tea was in place. So the farmer's wife poured the tea for the husband and the wife. And the husband took the tea and took a sip. And he motioned to his wife, he said, "Weak tea?" And the wife said, "Tried it. Hey, weak tea." At that point, the wife motioned to her husband, he said, "You weren't kidding when you said these people love strong tea. I put 6 tea bags, and they both agreed that it's still weak." Now, who didn't catch that? See, a lot of times, our interpretation, what we say, is always misunderstood. And I'll begin a program here how we translate. Translation from Mi'kmaq is always, our language has 2 necessary points. First one, it's descriptive. It's one of the most descriptive languages in the world. That's why Mi'kmaq is such a beautiful language. The beauty of it is in that when you say something, you can see it. If you can't see it, in fact, they will tell you, Nemidu. I see what you're saying, not I understand. And it's also very distinctive. You can only speak of one thing, not like any other languages. When you say something, you have to think 10 times to figure out what and where and what. So this guy who drove a tractor down to town every day went by the reserve. The people called him Ubmikchebideu. Because you know, on a tractor it's a steel seat, and when you drive a tractor, you have to sit this way or that way. So you never could sit straight. So so you know very well exactly who it is. Anyway, sometimes people wrote what they heard, not that they understood. In fact, one day I was talking to Sarah Francis, and she said to me that she had a little girl come in, a young woman come in, and read to her a book that she brought over, written in Mi'kmaq. And she read it thoroughly, completely, and she said, I see, Emidu. She saw what she read. And then, out of curiosity, said, can you tell me that in English, what you read? And she said, I don't have a clue. She read perfectly, and every one of you, if she read it, would understand it. Those who understand, but herself, she didn't understand it. She could read and write. But that's it. So in order for us to keep our language, so I see. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'll explain how we got to this point. One day I was asked to make a presentation of something that referred to a language, and I said, I don't know. But I asked my daughter to help me. So the way we do it is that you help me to help you. I need your help to help you. So throughout this session, I want your help so that we can help others, young people, to learn, to understand, and to see. Now, when we started this project, I asked her, how do we do it? She said, do it the way you told us, how you told us these things, how you explained to us. That's a good way. And this is the way that whenever they asked me something, I never told them what it was, because we said our language is distinctive and descriptive. Remember the guy on the tractor? We didn't know his name, but when we say we know exactly who it is. So we know exactly what we're talking about. So I'll begin with a little, at the end I will talk about something, and I want you guys to tell me what I'm talking about. But before.
And at the end, we're going to do a presentation on Nearpod.
That's the one we're going to be using.
So we're going to upload nearpod.com. If you want to take a minute now and upload it, you don't have to. You should be on Wi-Fi. If you're not on Wi-Fi, what's the home address? Home address. No space, no capitals, just home address. And one word. Yeah. Nearpod.com. You just go on there. You don't have to upload it on your phone. It's just a website.
And I think this is a wonderful tool for the language and students, so that this is how they learn.
Nearpod. nearpod.com. That's all you gotta do. Just Google that and it'll take you. We will give you a code to join the classroom. We have a classroom built for this.
See, like, we know how children learn. Once we know how they learn, then we can teach them. And you know that there is no child without that tool. And don't take it away from you. Use it. In fact, I went to a place once and I asked about it. They said they all left them home with instructions. I said, well, I'm useless to you today. Anyway,
Yeah.
we begin with a story about these two guys. A guy was driving along and his muffler fell off. So he stopped. There was a couple of guys that had a backyard garage, and he stopped there and asked if they would help, if they could help him to fix his muffler till he gets to a muffler shop. And they said, okay. So one went and put some wires to it. You know how you tie up a muffler, you know, just Vincent would know that stuff, you know. Anyway, they tied it up, and when they finished, one guy looks at it and he turned to his friend and he said, "Glidado." Hey, glidado. This guy was not a native, he was just from a nearby village. He didn't understand. He said, what did he say? He said, "It'll raspberry." You know? So here we go. Sometimes we say things that translation is sometimes different. Like we try to translate, but like that weak tea. That actually means it'll pass. It's good. It's great tea. Weak tea. Anything that you love. Tasty. Really good. Weak tea. Here, the guy tried to figure it out, and he didn't know how he would say it because he was very, his vocabulary in English was very small. So he just thought for a minute and says, it'll raspberry. Okay, we'll begin. When Newell asked me to do it, to put a program together or something that the way that I explained to them when they were small about things, when they asked me a question, I usually talk about it. And we did a small presentation, and this is it. This could be added on, modified, and developed to your need, to whoever you're working with. And not just this anything. You can do it almost with wood. Everything in the Mi'kmaq language is distinct and descriptive. And if you apply that to anything, you will find a word. And again, we are struggling to find new words. And as our old people, Sahaweri, did not have any difficulty with that. They just said it because, like for instance, they had sabegan. When the French people brought the turnip, they said, "Bonjour sabegan." French turnip, French potato, French sabegan. A house, wigwam. This is a wigwam, by the way. But we only call it wigwam. So it's, they had also a horse. In fact, the moose, when they brought their cow over, they didn't know what it was, but it certainly looked like a moose, so they called it Wenjudion, French moose. So it's a shortage of development. There's no problem in developing words as long as they fit into that descriptive and distinct. We can develop any words. and those we can't develop, they're already made, like the train, the car. But we can still keep our language fairly well intact. But if we must look at that, we're not doubling up. We're saying what we said, and then when we say it, limit this. You know, you will see it. If you can't see it, then it's corrupt. When you can't figure it out in that style, then it's corrupt. There's something missing, and it's usually the that little part is usually missing. I was looking at a program the other day, and they were talking about a crooked knife, and they had a word, and the way they were saying it, it's to shave. I read them and I want and I love it. Hello, how are you? Nice to meet you. Hey, what's your age? Anyway, I'll remember it. It's something that. Yeah, that's probably, they call it, they put English accent totally, and that's Southwest, and we use the same word. What is that? Okay, just a little story I begin with. This little boy was in residential school a long time. About 4 years, but he never forgot the language, and he lived with his mother, and they lived in his mother was living in the city, in town. So one day he was able to go home, and his mother came over and picked him up, and he took him to the village that she was living in, and he asked his mother, says, I want to go to Granddad's, Grandpa's. I want to stay there for the summer. And says, why? He says, I want to live there because I don't know anything. So the mother says, okay, I'll take you up. And the old people live outside in the back, like a reserve, which was a wooded area close by. So he said, when they got there, the mother went back and the boy stayed. And he told his grandfather, he said, listen, I want to learn about can I go into the woods? Can I go up there and watch the animals? I said, okay. So he went out. He was there a little while, came back home, and asked the grandmother was fixing something, lunch or something. And he said, what did you see? He says, I saw this little creature. He hopped for a short distance. Huh. Do you know what it is? No, I never saw it before. He said, a bleeding. Ah, a bleeding. And that's if you notice this little creature hopping, and a rabbit runs for a short distance, and he hops. Now let's break that word down. Obligamuch. Any volunteers? Anybody want to give it a try? Obligamuch. What the first part of the word up? Huh? Up. I'll give you a hint. When you throw a ball down, what happens? Now, if you go visiting, say I went to visit Doug, Elliot. Douglas. Do you know when I'm going to be back? Huh? I may be there a long time, huh? Now, if I say L-E-V Douglas, is there a difference? What's the difference? Huh? No, L-E-V. I'm only going to be there for a little while, short. Okay. So, Abu'if Kwet, a little distance. Abeligamuch. Much means small, right? Why, something. A dog, bird, animal. So, Abeligamuch, the one that hops for a short distance. But is there any other animal that does that? Abeligamuch. Abu'if Kwet, which will tell you it. So, huh? Abeligamuch. The first part, huh? No. Abu'if Kwet. We'll get to that, but we're not into that. Abeligamuch is the one we use to isolate the how you identify, how do you develop a word. Well, at this point, we have to look at, if it's a kangaroo, we have to, remember I said earlier, to teach a child, you must understand how they learn. So we have to know what the kangaroo does that is distinct from every other animal. I know that he boxes great. Okay, now I'm just going to show an animal here.
Oh.
This one here. There's a very distinctive feature on this animal. What is it? What's wrong with his eyes? Well, what does that mean to you? Okay, girls, what do you do before you leave? Cosmetics, but this guy's got nice decorated eyes, huh? He decorates his eyes. So, how do you say that? Amal, that means amal means to decorate. Eyes, chigwech. Amal chigwech. Decorated eyes. That's very distinct here in Cape Breton. Like, we don't have kangaroos here, we don't have any other animals that have the same features. So, kangaroo was so-called amal chigwech because of that distinctive, when you say that, when the boys saw this animal with a amal chigwech, the grandmother understood right away that it's a raccoon that he saw, amal chigwech. So that's very distinctive and clear. Amal chigwech is what is known as a raccoon to us. There's no other animal fits that feature. Oh, here's another one that's a little, somewhat decorated too. Do you see the decorative feature on this animal that's distinct?
Yeah.
Yeah. How would you say that? Amal is one, but what's decorated? Don't do one back. Bob. How do you say that? What's that animal called it? What should we call it? Amal Bahamid. Decorated back. That's not hard, huh? So we happy with that? One comment.
This one is gonna be an issue, no?
Oh,
That's the one we have to edit.
okay.
That's okay?
Here is the one that, this is an engineer, a very industrial animal. You remember, what did Adam do? That caused us to be here. He did what? He took a bite. Took a one juice one. That's a French cranberry. Wasn't an apple. One juice one is French cranberry. Because we didn't have apples here. We had cranberry. He took a bite. So jiltuk means. So there's nothing about jiltuk because what he does with that is jiltuk gemoed is a gewia. Now, dan is de ladigen na dalwood. Dem and go, demai to go is not dem na. Okay, did you gewia? Dalwood, niene. Dalwood net. What is he doing? What does a beaver do? He chews the wood till it falls down. Now, Newell, go pit. Go pit. So, very distinctively, we call him the one that does that. Go beat. Go it. It's just a shortened. Remember I said it may be corrupt sometimes, over time. We just, like this morning, they wrote down Ernest. And I said, no, nobody calls me that. Take the T off and I'll recognize my name. Ernest. Okay, see how it's very, very easy to really make up new words if you find the distinctive and understand the item or the thing that we're trying to say. Instead of you can describe it and just package it, and you'll come up with a nice word that's distinctive and descriptive and acceptable that you and I will know. Chevy there is the one that drives by every morning. The one that somebody else drives the tractor. We wouldn't call him that. That's different. He doesn't do that. Cockpit. Here's the one that not a very popular one, but very distinctive what he does. Mr. Pugh. Now one morning, this little fellow went out again. And about an hour later he came back and didn't come in. He just stood outside and grandmother says, come on in. Can't. And she went out and of course he can't. Anyway, he says, what did you find today? What did you see today? And he said, he described this animal. I wonder how he described him. Hello, Vincent? Very distinctive about this animal before he has to do one thing before he could spray. And that's his defense. Only time they spray is when they're threatened. One of the nicest, kindest, loving animals is this animal. I met him on the road one day, driving down in Guysborough, and I said, don't go near him. I said, well, if he's not frightened of me, he's not going to do anything. So I stopped, went out of the car, and he crossed the road very gently. He crossed over, turned around, And he walked right back again. I don't know his way of saying thank you or something, he just walked back and minded his own business. Never did anything. We think that every time you meet a skunk, he's going to do that. No, he won't do that. Not unless you threaten him. You threaten somebody, you know what they'll do. Anyway, this one is so called. He got his name from that habit he's got. But he does certain things to be able to do that. Because all my life, I spent most of my life fur harvesting. And one day, Sarah, she says, can you get me skunk oil? I can't say no. Yeah, I can. So she needed medicine for somebody who had a what do you call it? Cataracts, something like that. But she needed that, so I had to get it. Of course, the Newell wasn't going to help me. So I went home and I asked my grandfather, I said, listen, Sarah asked me to get him some, this guy, get some oil. And I know if I'm going to put a trap on him, you know, it's going to be a... He says, I must abortism. That means that you have to put a snare and lift him off his feet. I said, why? He said, when he's not on his feet, he can't spray. So you do that, you're all right. That didn't happen. Spent about 5 gallons of tomato juice. We got the oil. And Newell got the fur, you've seen it. Anyway, this little creature, being gentle and everything, has a protection. And he does one thing. So let's see what he does. Before he could eat, I think the boy said when the animal went, he tried to catch up to him, and the animal stopped, and he backed. And he went close, tried to pick him up when he backed up. And that's when he got it. He has to back up. So, essa died is not. Abajai. Then what does he do? Big chilies. So he said that about your big chili. So what do we call this guy? Huh? Yeah, the one that backs up before he gives you a... So it's very, very simple, and he's very descriptive. You know exactly what you're talking about your big chili with. Very simple. Okay, you remember that. I think that, in fact, we can give you this tripod, this program if you want to use it as a model. Work with that one. Okay, we'll go to the next one. Okay, all right. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to be telling you a story about this boy before he goes back to Shuby Residential School. And we're on, I don't know what time it is now. We got a little bit of time again. Lots of time, huh? Yeah, because I did this. No, let's go.
20 minutes,
okay, this will take about 20 minutes. Okay, we can do other things. Okay.
Is everyone on Nearpod?
Nearpod, no.
If not, if you have somebody sitting next to you who has Nearpod. Che vuoi Newell sia? Che ci dura? Check it guy. iPad Pro. Still did him, Mr. Neely. Okay. Well, do you know the password? Password for the Wi-Fi is home address.
You got yours?
We need your code.
Just double up.
No, you know what I can do?
Double up.
I can just give you that. Apple TV, smart TV.
Huh?
Smart TV.
No.
Okay. I'll just give him the code to get in. Okay, good.
And this is an exercise that is very, it's something that you could use
Home address.
when you're teaching
No,
young children or trying to get their attention. You can do this over lunch or work with them with this and help them see.
Mina, make it my code. Gotta get my code. Okay. Let's get my code. Oh. Capital. O, O, A, M, B.
Individual. O-A-M-B-G.
When you go on the AirPods, do you see a screen that says join?
Join.
Create, listed it. So go to join. And then punch in that code word. It's a O, not a 0. Capital O-A-M-B-G. Ooh, I have 5 people. Tammy, Raina, Jen, Cornelia. Oh, I've got a full class. Oh, my. 13 people in class so far. Not everyone's going to be on there, but those of you that can, or just follow along with somebody who...
The beauty of this is that when you're talking to a child, you don't have to worry about if he's listening or not. You know he's listening or not. So we know that there are 15 or 20 people that are doing this exercise. And we'll know if you're listening or not.
We'll know if you leave the classroom or not.
Yeah. And then you can't get a call either.
That's the same password, we'll get you back to another time.
Yeah, every new classroom has a new code. So every time I create a
The
lesson,
maximum number of students.
okay, 50 is my limit.
Okay.
Unless I pay more, which I'm not gonna.
Okay, the idea is that I'll be telling a story. When I finish the story, you tell me what I'm talking about.
But there's only 40 on that.
Those of you that don't understand it in the Mi'kmaq, you will know what I'm talking about in English. I will give you the Mi'kmaq word. Right here.
Okay, stand by.
Okay, back to the little guy visiting his grandparents. One evening, his grandfather said, do you want to go and make a bonfire by the sandbar tonight? We'll take some, well, I would say popcorn. Yes, come in. We'll take some and have fun. We can take some wieners. So they went and they built a nice bonfire and they were there for a while, about an hour, and then, okay, so they went home. The next morning, grandmother asked, she says, did you have fun last night? Oh, yes. he says, can we go again tonight? And he said, well, we have no popcorn left or wieners. Oh, he said, that's okay. He said, but I just want to see what I saw last night again. And they went again. And they built a fire, a big fire, and they talked, and the young boy was looking. And they went back home. Next morning, they were sitting around the table, and grandfather said, did you have fun last night? Oh, yes. He said, you know, the first night we went there, I saw these things. When we built that fire, they came. And then I wanted to make sure, so when we went again last night, they came again, a lot of them. What are they? You tell me, what are they? In your iPod, you tell me. What am I talking about?
You want to give me the name? What does Beju mean to you?
Yeah.
The one, Gerald, you got the one that comes to the fire. It's a good one.
Okay, I'll give you a little extra story on this one.
Read them. Let me read them.
Every time this grandmother finishes dinner, he tells the young boy, he says, I just made dinner, and your uncle will be here. And he said, there's his way, na klamuxis Beaver. So when you build a fire, there's only one that will come to the light, not the fire.
Did you guys see the one I shared?
The one that Peggy sings this, Dalaweedut.
I'm going to share another one.
Just one Mi'kmaq word, or even an English word. We know that the aligo tijula, the one down the aligo tijula, are the fish.
I'm not going to share everybody's answers because some of them are like, okay.
Okay, we talked about the one that comes, and the uncle that comes,
I'm going to
Beaver.
share this one from Raven.
So the one that comes constantly and every time is, we call him Beju. Beju. Very simple word, Beju. Beju.
And almost everybody that got caught fish, their answer was right.
So you can even take all these little, put them on that exercise with your, but one thing that you I do, a lot of times when you ask an elder to come into your sessions or something, they need a lot of help. I couldn't do this by myself. I mean, I need all, like Trevor there, and I need these young people to help me because they help me to help them, so that I could do how they learn, so I can understand how they learn. Now, if I were to talk to 20 students like this, you know who I'd be talking to right now? Empty chairs. They'll be gone. But if I had them with those tools, they couldn't hear a pin drop. So this is how, the other thing about elders, when they come in, you help them, because they, like the one about this raspberry, the one about weak tea. See, there's two distinct, different ways that the elders and the New World but they can communicate very easily if you provide the means. If you provide the means, you could get a lot more mileage.
Okay, next one. Sam, I want to hear the meaning.
There's a lot of variation to this word, like numage. Probably talks about all the fish, but there's one particular fish or varies of fish that we use very differently. And there are certain ones that were used by our people to extract oil. And these ran in a classification by themselves, like the industry called for oil before petrol. And this is how the boats they ran and how they greased their farm tools with fish oil. And it was if you ever watched that little presentation about the last porpoise hunter, have you seen that? Where he kicked threw the barrel away? That tells you what, that's the end, no more. Because there was because they could buy that in quarts at the service stations, but before that, the Mi'kmaq people were getting oil for them. The Mi'kmaq people did a lot of things for, they made hockey sticks and spades and everything else. And we never get credit for it. And we had oil before everybody else. And when they were getting their oil from the fish, because this was a surplus. This is something you don't eat too much of. So whatever is left, you save it, extract it, and mimage. So there are a lot of oils in the fish, like beju. You can get all kinds of cod liver oil there for your medicine. That's what they were using. But cod liver oil is also good for, like making things run very smoothly. But we used to take cod liver oil for one purpose, so that the food will be going down easier. You take a spoonful of cod liver oil and you almost eat anything.
Of course anything will go down. Okay, next one. Just to share with you what some of the features of Nearpod, I'm going to go on to the next session, next one, and I want you to draw beju. It should show up on your screen. There's a lot of things that this Nearpod app can do. It can do polls, it can do draw, it can do quizzes. There's a ton, and it's a free app that you can download. It's nearpod.com. It's free. You don't have to pay for it. Come on, Jeff. And just so you know, I have the teacher, because I created the lesson, I see everybody's drawing on the iPad up front. I won't share it unless I feel like it. There's some really nice ones from the Mickey Cute.
Cheater.
Oh yeah, where is
Whatever you draw, it's got to be patented.
Okay, I'm going to share this is the bedroom. You guys let me up. Turtle. Yeah. Taking up. Gerald.
Yeah, because like Gerald put something very descriptive and distinctive on the fish that he drew. When you look at a codfish, it's got that long green.
Desiree.
When you look at it,
Whoever, I mean Desiree, great job on this one. I'm going to share you what Desiree did. And it wasn't drawn, but these are some of the features that you can do. It should show up in your Desiree, not holiday, okay, painter, artist, nobody. You guys, I'm going to share with you a couple more. I can turn off the names if you don't want me to show the names. Or are you guys okay with names?
Okay.
Okay, I'll keep the names on. Right on. I'll share with you this.
That's a happy fish.
That's a happy fish? Happy fish? This one had lots of color. I like this one. That one has lots of color. Está going there? Okay, I'll Raven, visual take this off.
That's, yeah, nice. The fish, you don't have to call them or anything like that, just build a fire and then the fish is known to be attracted to light, and the first fish that will come is the codfish any light, anywhere, even in Newfoundland. That's where all the codfish went.
Okay, I'm not going to share all of them. Some people still didn't yet draw.
There's a feature here that we have. We know that there are some people that have not drawn anything yet.
Still awaiting drawing.
So,
okay, so.
1, 2, 3.
Okay. Got a whelping. Oh, yeah. Ada biscuit does it well. This one just hasn't it.
All right.
Did you see that one? Or it didn't come up? Yeah. Yeah. So, now I'm sitting at work. And then there are some words. Okay.
Okay, the last part of it is that using your iPod, give us your opinion.
Your thought. Okay. I'm going to add an activity. And I'm going to say, okay, do you want to leave this?
Remember I said help us help you?
Okay, add activity.
This is where you help us.
I'm going to add a slide. Open-ended question. Feedback was delirium. So I'm going to share it and just input your feedback. Do you like it? Do you think it's good for the kids? Do you think it's too hard? We just want to know if we should continue this with our presentations with this. So just put in your feedback and just press submit. I'm not going to share your feedback, FYI. I'm turning it off. Here's a picture of our bedroom.
See, probably the next thing that we just do is, if we got time, we just show these and you print out, you just say what it is.
So it's another one that we wanted to work on. Another one that we're gonna work on is baptism, coyote. Where did their name come from?
One thing specific about it is very distinctive, and it all applies to that species of animal.
That's our original baptism. So coyote.
Well, coyote, different wolves, they all are from the same family. Like we are Mi'kmaq. I'm not especially like Ernest Mi'kmaq, no, or Johnson. We don't go there. These are like one family of the whole family. Yeah. This one here, okay, let's try this one for the fun of it.
You didn't set it up in your pot. So
No,
just have to
no.
say-
This one is a very, this
Yes,
comes
you can
from
sign
the
out
wolf
now.
family, but it's been with man for so much that it became domestic and almost a different breed. But is an animal or something. I'm not so sure about that, but I'm learning. But how many of you own a dog? Most of you own a dog. Now, if you took that dog and dropped him off 25 miles away, what happens? Okay, what do you call this guy? Alamooch? What does he do? Alamooch, the one that goes home. Oh, very simple. Yes. Our language is not as complicated. In fact, that's why I said it's so beautiful that you can see it. That you can almost, when somebody says something that you haven't even heard before. The word I wanted to talk to you later about migudahan. Migudigan. That's a Mi'kmaq word, but it's also a word that's spread all over the world, all over the indigenous people. They call it the same. When I was watching a presentation of it, they call it Maktahahan. But that's pronouncing it just like we keep pronouncing it, and you know, how, huh? Hello, Roman. Hello, Roman. Hello, Roman. Hello, Roman. Hello, Roman. Well, the differences in different things, like you take that particular knife I'm talking about, is the same as it, but it's a variation of knives that you do, like when you take a rough wood, before you can finish it, you got to rough shave it. Just these new and migu did. So the words are just there may be 5 or 7 pieces of words that make up one word. Very descriptive. But you look up crooked knives, and somebody presents that, and what they call it, and you understand the Mi'kmaq language, you have a good laugh.
Good positive feedback on the
Very good.
presentation and on their applause. You had 70% people participate. And that concludes our presentation.
I hope that you got at least 1% of something that we offered. If you got something that you can re-offer.